Hello, hello. Welcome to K.I.S.S Recovery 101. This is Bridge. Welcome, everybody. Well, let's see. I'm going to open up the chat right away because I really would like anyone and everyone to interact. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm a fan. I will try to maintain my level of professionalism, sort of. But I have a wonderful guest. Completely honored that you're here with me today. Why don't you, I'm already turning red. I'm getting hot here. I'm just so excited to have you. So would you mind introducing yourself, guest?
Sure. My name is Melanie Moberg, and I started sort of my journey in the recovery world after I lost my brother to suicide in 2013, and really struggled to understand when he died. He was intoxicated and high, and so much of it we didn't know. And so I had got on this journey of trying to understand, and part of that was getting my master's degree from Hazelden Betty Ford Graduate School of Addiction Studies. So I have that now, and I do some codependency coaching and things like that. I wrote a book called Warriors in Recovery that I know we're going to talk about. And so through this whole process, I've met lots of people like you in recovery. I am myself, I'm not in recovery, but I like to call myself a friend of people.
An ally.
Yeah, everybody needs one of those. And so throughout, my life, been kind of, I guess, surrounded by addiction, I guess, for lack of a better word. My brother was, had struggled with addiction and mental health issues, that most of which was unknown to us at the time. And I have a sister who is struggling with addiction as well. And so lots of problems, and my codependency sort of consumed my life for several years after both of those events. And so a lot of the work I have done is to understand how to love myself better, accept myself, accept the people in my life for who they are, and just really love them anyway.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna back up. I gotta talk about you more, Melanie. Okay, so Melanie Moberg is the author of Warriors in Recovery. Oh, I love this book. It changed my life. We are currently reading it actually in our Bad Moms Club group, Monday nights, 7 p.m., Blaine, Alano. But what's wonderful is, there's stories in it. But why don't you plug your website?
Sure, you can go to melaniemoberg.com. You can buy the book through there. You can search my name on Amazon if you want, or search Warriors in Recovery. You'll find it there. I also have a blog on my website. You can book a coaching call with me. You can subscribe to my email updates, all those sorts of fun things.
Yes, and the blog. Okay, so I did not put your book down when I got it. I got it from my friend John, and I was on a flight, and I literally read it in like 4 hours. And it's been a long time, like I think since in high school, that I was like a reading nerd back then, but I couldn't put it down, and like I still had an hour left on my flight, and like, no, what am I gonna do? But what's really cool is, along with the book, is a workbook that you can sign up for on your website, and you just put it in your email, I believe, right?
Yes.
And it's really cool because I get like weekly check-ins kind of too, to kind of keep me up on it. And what we do in our Bad Moms group is we're doing it all together. So we're reading these really great stories. Like, I won't talk too much about the book because I want people to get it and read it. But each story, it's great rereading it with other people, other women, and really finding those connections, and even talking about other viewpoints and other people's experiences, and just learning and growing and healing. It's such a big part of healing, is to connect with other people that have, gone through the depths of some stuffs, and to talk about that pain. And that's for me what's helped me heal a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I hope you don't mind me interrupting.
Absolutely. Interrupt me the whole time.
The book for me was actually like a really big part of my recovery, and, my whole quest to understand what happened to my brother and what's happening with my sister. This book really, talking to these women, seeing real women, hearing their struggles, learning their struggles, crying with them, holding them, hugging them, it was incredibly healing for me. And so it was a big part of my path to recovery.
Yeah. Well, and acceptance, I mean, we definitely need to talk about that. For me, I was living in the past, and it wasn't like it was a good past. I was living with the shame and the guilt for so long, and I was punishing myself because I couldn't forgive myself because I had so many regrets at that time. And what I love, okay, so let me just talk about this. So, actually, do you mind? We're just going to read right out of your book for a second. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, this I highlighted. So if you get this book on page 63, and I know some of my listeners out there might be actually have the book in front of them. So if you read from page 63, I'm just going to read this whole part. I love this book because you just literally felt like you were talking straight to me and just blunt and real and truthful. So, okay. So I just remember sitting and reading this, and I was like, yes, tell me more. Okay, so it says on page 63, lastly, there is a hard truth that I want to share because it resonated with me in a big way. You may dislike me for a bit or for a long while after this one, so please take a deep breath and just consider it. You don't have to make any rash decisions today, just consider it. Something Lisa from our next story taught me is this: we have what we are willing to tolerate. If there is someone or something in your life that you do not like, ask yourself if you are okay with it. Remember, only you can change your life. If someone or something is in your life, that is because you are allowing it. Ooh, that was hard to hear.
Really
See, I got goosebumps. That was hard to hear. This isn't always easy to accept. Sometimes the people we love are the things we are tolerating. If so, we must decide if we are still willing to tolerate them. We may need to create some space so we can evaluate the situation. There is much to be said in this space for boundaries as well. But I will cover that in the Codependency chapter, which is later on in this book. And you can find more on my blog. But for now, simply be aware that if you are unhappy with someone or something in your life, it is possible that you are not doing what is needed to protect your emotional and or physical space. I love that.
It's a really hard truth, and I have lots of them in that book, I feel like, and they're some controversial things. I think that brings up a lot of controversy for some people. But
it's hard to hear.
It's hard
if
to
you're
hear.
not ready.
Nobody wants to hear that. And when I tell people, when I ask people that, if I say, everything in your life is based on a choice you made, the word choice is very tricky, first of all, and I don't take that lightly. But everything really, if you think about the things in your life and what's happening, there's always a circumstance or a thing that happens to us. And then from that, we have a feeling, and we have a thought, sorry. So there's something that happens to us, we have a thought about it, which creates a feeling, which causes action. So I guess in the case of somebody like my sister, for instance, that I've struggled with for several years with our relationship, I was allowing her to ask me to do things for her, and I would do them, and I'd be resentful towards her about it. And at the end of the day, I was allowing it to happen. And so looking back at that situation, really realizing I needed to create space in that relationship for my well-being, for her well-being as well. I'm sure I was not a healthy person in her life. So it goes both ways, really. And so just about everything in life, I think we can reflect on that and say, what could I be doing differently in this situation?
Well, and I think the biggest piece I pulled from that reading is what am I willing to keep allowing? And for me, it was a awakening because I didn't realize how much it was me allowing it. Yes, I set these boundaries, but then I would literally go into, I call it the Cloak of Denial. I would be like, well, we had a conversation about it, so he gets it, so I'm just going to let it go this time. But every single time, that inch became a mile. And it was just this test, so I'd have these boundaries, these lines, and it was he'd nudge them a little bit. So I'd move them a little bit. He'd nudge them some more. I'd move them more. And then, that reading and this book helped me to really look at my life, in reality. Because in my home, even with my children, that's what breaks my heart, is my children were probably seeing all these things, these red flags that I was in denial about because I wanted that feeling of feeling needed and wanted and accepted. And so, But yeah, let's tie. Okay, so the reason I wanted to bring up sex addiction and I wanted to have you with me here to talk about it is because what I've been reading and doing the research on is it turns out they're more saying it's sex, it's actually love addiction. And I read this great article. I was at an appointment and I picked up a magazine and I don't fully agree with what the article said, but they were really just saying sex addiction doesn't exist, okay? But some of the facts and some of the things that they pointed out in the article was like, it's about nature versus nurture. And I love that this article said, is it really sex addiction? Is it really love addiction? Is it nurture addiction? Where they get, it makes me feel, it breaks my heart a little bit because it's all, okay, so just follow me here. I've been obsessed with Dr. Gabor Mate. Have you heard of him?
Well, I did when you sent me that one.
Okay, so the clip is going to be of him.
Yeah.
He's a genius, and I did not even know that he really existed, and now I can't get enough of it. He literally speaks to my soul, my spirit, my body, my mind. Like, it just like feels like he gets it from the day I was born to where I'm at today. And I definitely am going to play future clips because like he really gets the whole picture of recovery. Because for me, long-term recovery, I had multiple addictions, like I went to AA and NA specifically for alcohol and drug addiction. But really, when I had Christina on here, she pointed out like my first addiction was food addiction, which I still have issues with because I can't just not eat. We need food to live. But after that, I remember being 14 years old. Okay, just this might be TMI. You just put your hand up at any point if anything I say offends you. But I remember being 14 and babysitting, and this is back when they had VHSs.
I
They left the couple I was babysitting for left the wrong VHS tape in the player, and it was a porno.
Oh, no.
Actually, I think I was like 12. I was really young, but that was the first time. I had no relationship with my adopted parents. Like, there was no conversations. We were not like a family unit. Like, literally, they put a roof over my head. That was about it. So my life and everything I've learned outside of that came from school and came from wonderful teachers and role models and Girl Scouts. But unfortunately, I learned about sex and porn. Yeah. So it's a little twisted. And a lot of like trauma, that it had stemmed from. So before I ramble on too much, I'm going to just finish what I'm saying here now. We're going to play that clip because I'm going to see how these two things tie in together. Because really, when I was in that sex addiction, for me, what he talks about was that need, that desperate need to feel wanted and accepted.
Yeah.
And through sex, it was like an immediate, like, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to anything that makes me feel good. I want more of anything right away. And so I immediately thought that, and it actually says your body releases for females, like a love hormone, like you actually feel love in the moment. So, like, anyway, but for me, because of my child, I don't want to blame my childhood, but I never understood what love was. So for me, I didn't tie relationships. I didn't have those like love and a relationship as a connection. Those two things were always separate to me. And for me, it was like a duty and it had its purpose and that was it. And I remember the mind-blowing experience when I found someone that I had trusted and I had built this like connection with, and sex came into together, united. It was like it opened me up into this whole other notion that like sex is not, it doesn't have to just be sex. It can actually be very meaningful and very healthy. So, okay.
Yeah, I think connection is huge. It's so huge in every addiction, and I think all addiction is really stemmed from missing connection in some way. And
yes.
I know myself, I struggled with needing to be needed, and so like I was I am a huge overachiever in everything I do, and so any job I ever had, I was the best at what I did, and I'm still that way. Like, I haven't gotten rid of that, but that is how I find my acceptance, and I feel that love come at me, and that it's through that. So
overachiever, perfectionist.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like I'm staring in the mirror right now. Like, I'm aware of it and I accept it. You know, for me, I say it's more of, I just like quality over quantity. I just don't half-ass things. Like, if I'm going to do something, it's going to be to the best of my ability. But where I'm learning now is I need to have more empathy for myself.
Yeah,
like,
give yourself a little grace.
I need to lower my standards for myself just a lot, actually. So, okay, so I should have it right at the right time. So if you go, it's a TED, or no, it's not. It's a TED Talk. Well, if you go on YouTube, the clip is called "In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts," which is a book that he wrote. He wrote many books. He's written many books. Dr. Gabor Mate. The channel's Joe Polish, I want to say. My coworker Jesse actually sent me this clip. Oh, he didn't know. It's his fault. I'm obsessed with Dr. Bronte.
He didn't know what door he was opening.
He had no idea. Oh, I can't get enough of it. Like, there's this one that I've been listening to over and over about how parents are not meant to discipline, but if you're going to discipline, think of your children as disciples, you know, that love you and want to follow you. I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. So, and one of these shows is going to be on parenting.
Power on.
Okay. So we're going to play this.
Bluetooth pairing.
I always forget this. I got to get a new speaker. That one you had
Bluetooth connected.
at your training, which I want to talk about a little
yeah.
bit.
Absolutely.
Was great. Okay. So here we go. And then right after this clip, we got some comments. We're going to open up. You ready for some comments and some questions,
yeah.
Melanie?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Dr. Gabor Mate. He's going to tap into what I'm talking about. You're going to see where this all ties together. I'm just looking at your face. You're like, where are we going with this, Bridge? Why are we talking about sex right now? I don't get it. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Core addiction was a sexual addiction because I was molested as a kid. My mother died when I was 4. I was molested as a kid. I was paid money not to say anything between the ages of 8 to 10, and it wired in my head that sex is not an intimate act of love and oneness. It's something you do to get off.
If I may interrupt, there's something else here too. So I'll talk about myself and I'll talk about you. So one of my addictions has been to work. In fact, that's a continued challenge for me. If you look at my travel schedule. So I got a certain message from the world. I was born in Budapest, Hungary, 1944. Jewish parents, 2 months before the Nazis occupied Hungary. So I spent the first year of my life with my mother under Nazi rule, and she was in terror the whole year, as you can imagine. Parents killed in Auschwitz and so on. My father was away in forced labor. The message I got from the world is that the world didn't want me. Not because Hitler didn't want me, because I didn't know Hitler. But my mother was unhappy. And children are narcissists in the developmental sense. They take everything personally. So when the bad things are happening, it must be about me. And if she's not happy around me, Thich Nhat Hanh, the spiritual teacher, says that the greatest gift parents can give their children is their own happiness. Because the children take that personally. It's about us. We must be great creatures. So when my mother is unhappy and depressed and in terror, I get the message the world doesn't want me. And then at 1 year of age, she gives me to a stranger to save my life. So I don't see her for a month. I get the message the world doesn't want me. Now, then in Canada, 30 odd years later, I become a physician. Well, one way to deal with not being wanted is to become a doctor. Because not they're going to want you all the time. They're going to want you when they're being born, they want you when they're dying, and they're going to want you at every moment in between. And the beeper is always going. This is before cell phones, of course. And the beeper is always going, and you're getting validation every moment. And what it is a compensation for the sense of not being wanted that I've never dealt with. Now, in your case, you got a message as well, that you're wanted through your body. You're wanted through your body. You're wanted when you're sexually available. That's the message you get. What are you going to do? So, especially if you look at men who are sex addicts and women who are sex addicts, there's no such thing as a what's the word, an nymphomaniac. That's just a slander. What it really is women, or sometimes men, who've learned that only through their bodies and only through the sexual act are they actually wanted. Well, that's really addictive, because we all need to be wanted. Yeah.
Wow.
So good. We all need to be wanted.
need to be wanted. Okay. So what'd you think about that clip?
I actually really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. I think there's so much truth to speaking to trauma and like micro traumas, major traumas, you name it, but we've all had some sort of trauma in our lives, and what the messages we receive from that, and then how that shapes the choices and the things that happen later in our lives, whether it's, just subconsciously at some point in time. I think that it really changes our life and it shapes who we become.
Absolutely. And it's like, to be truthful, like I feel like right now where my addiction at is knowledge. I'm really addicted to learning and growing as much as I can within reason, and I can't get enough. And it's a healthy addiction, I think. And, late at night, and sometimes I got to take my melatonin. I got to turn it off. Like, calm down a little bit.
There are worse things.
Yes. Oh, I know. But the great thing is, the more, these things that people aren't talking about. So what I'm trying to do is talk about them, break the stigma, because the only way to make people aware and let people know what's really going on is to talk about it. You take movies and TVs, you see an alcoholic or an addict, and that's like this disgruntled, whatever, beat up person that's living on the streets. Well, that's not reality, okay? Because in the beginning of the throes of my addiction, I was married. We had a house, we had multiple cars, I had a good job, nobody had any idea what was going on inside me. And my poor ex-husband at the time, my husband at the time had no idea either, And because of my trauma from my childhood, he said one thing that, maybe a normal person, just a person that had a great childhood wouldn't take, it immediately, I just had this wall that had been built up through the years. Like, he had no way or a chance of knowing who I was, because I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
So how the heck was there ever going to be any connection? And, and that's weird to say that now,
Yeah.
That I can give him that side of the
Well, I think there's so much
street.
power in really doing the work to understand our history, and I talk about it in the book a little bit about going into the past a little bit, but don't stay there.
Yes.
Learn from it and move forward and figure out what you want your future to look like, and then create it.
Yes.
But it's healing, and it helps you give yourself some grace and forgiveness for the decisions or for the things that have happened, or for whatever it is. And one of the things that I've, I think working on grace is extremely important, and learning from whatever has happened and taking that and using it for the good for the future.
Yes. Well, I think for me, going through, so, I didn't tell you this. So tomorrow I will have 2 years.
Yes!
2 years. This is a big deal to me. So I've been in recovery, quote unquote, long-term recovery. It was 17 years before this 2 years, so 19 years total. But through that 17 years, I could do a year, I could do 18 months. I had little ones, I would do it for them, or do it to save my marriage, or do it. It wasn't this 2 years. I've done it. I made that choice to do it for myself. It's my choice, and I made that choice, and it's there's no second thought about it. Literally that first year was just really getting through that first year of birthdays and holidays and all these things with family and friends that I couldn't do, nobody did sober around me. So that first year was a big deal. And then it's been wonderful because this last year has just really been focusing on me and loving myself and putting myself first within reason. I have kiddos, but, and just, even, I'm not even dating. I'm not even trying to think about relationships. It's weird to be on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And
It's super healthy.
It's wonderful.
Super healthy, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And, I find, of course, those the cold nights and my kids are gone, and I'm like, ooh, this isn't fun. But really, I just throw myself into a good book, Sex in the City's back.
Oh.
HBO Max. Oh, my God! That's my jam. But I can just sit with myself, and I couldn't do that a year ago, let alone 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just sit with myself, I couldn't even stand the thought of that. I always had to have distractions. I always had to disassociate. I always had to and now I can literally lay in bed and eat my Impossible Whopper and watch my Sex and the City, and I'm so enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
It's come a long way. So yeah, 2 years, and I've never been able to do that. And like I haven't even thought about it. Like it's not even on my mind. Like I just think like before, you know, it would always be on my mind. Well, at least I got 6 months. Well, at least I got 9 months. And like now I'm not even thinking about it because I've made this choice and I'm on this beautiful path of long-term recovery and doing it every day. You know, like taking a piece of recovery every day and where I find my purpose. I found that all that shit, so my whole point was, now I just rambled on, was I went through that whole shit show of 17 years, and how I was able to move forward and not live in the past was, I survived, and now I'm flourishing, and I can take all those things that I went through, and they have meaning and purpose, and I can make one connection with one girl or one woman in that room, and she's comes up to me and says, I'm so glad that you talked about it. That happened to me too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, my higher power sees, like my higher power knew that I could handle it, you know? And so I now can be that helping hand that I didn't have for all those, you know, all those years. A lot of it was my fault, you know, my own thing, you know, trust was a big thing. But now it's like the more I talk about it, I feel like it's purposeful, and I'm able to connect and reach out to that person that was me in the back of the room, not scared and alone and depressed, and now, you know, I'm speaking to them, I feel like, anyway.
It's so scary. I think to do the work is like super scary, but there is so much reward. And then I think when you dive into that pain, you can really turn it into your purpose.
Yes.
And really just live it every day. And, you know, like you're doing, like I'm doing.
Yes.
Really turning something sort of tragic into something phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And meaningful and
everybody can do
purposeful.
that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and Melanie, like, you are the people that I want in my inner circle, like that, you know, to have like-minded individuals that I feel that genuine, like, gets it and really means well for other people. There is no, like, other reasons, no selfish. I mean, Matthew McConaughey says it's okay to be selfishly selfish, you know, like, you need that, but, like, it's, like, I have a lot of people in the recovery community, and they're just focused on them, and they will always just, you know, go to their one meeting a week, and that's all that they need. But for me, it breaks my heart because here we are in this position, and there's people that need us. And so I surround myself with people like you that just, we be about it, you know, action-based. Like, I don't talk about anything anymore. I go and do it.
Absolutely.
So
so much power in that. And it's not everybody's jam. You know, some people like to live quietly in recovery, and that's okay too. I think it's important to do what feels good on your heart and what you're comfortable sharing, but there's so much power in sharing our stories. And I have found that the same thing. You have amazing women, men coming up to you and thanking you for things that I, you know, wasn't necessarily comfortable sharing, but decided to share anyway.
Right.
And, you know, I always said if this book touched one person, then, you know, good, I did my work.
Got it to me.
Spent thousands of dollars to get this book written.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, how much money are you making on that book? I'm like, I'm just hoping to recoup everything I write it.
Yeah. Well, right. And like, yeah. Okay. The alarm went off during the clip. I don't know if you caught that. So let's look at the, so this is live. You could, Facebook, you do have the opportunity to stay anonymous. Just don't click that box. And then YouTube, that's just an open public platform. So let's see what we got. You ready, Melanie? Okay, listeners. Mahana's on. He says, yes. I should always wear I forget to wear my glasses. Okay, I gotta get real close to the screen. It says, yes, makes you have to question yourself. It's okay to take time to look at what could cause good action. It says, but do we really set boundaries if we don't address them? I think this is great for people in recovery. What do you think of that?
Yeah, boundaries. I always say, like, you can, there's a few steps, I think, to creating boundaries, and you're absolutely right. I'm not sure who gave that comment, but...
Mahana.
Oh, okay, Mahana. So, absolutely, like, you can create boundaries, but if you're not going to communicate them to the person that you're trying to establish that boundary with, it's going to do you no good.
Right.
Because it's sort of like saying, like, oh, all of a sudden, I'm not going to pick up your phone call after 8 o'clock.
I'm going to give you the silent treatment.
Yeah, and it, at the end of the day, they need to know what that boundary is, and that'll give you more peace. And then communicate, like what happens, this doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes there can be a consequence for not following that, So if there's,
there has to be consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
and they don't have to be like big negative consequences.
No, just very simply, like, I just need some space. If you don't respect, not calling me after this time, I just need, I don't know what that's a horrible example, but let's say like somebody, like maybe an ex-boyfriend keeps coming to your house or something, and really not something that you want to be happening. Maybe you have kids, who knows, but you just don't want them just showing up. And so you put a boundary in place saying like, you can call or text me, an hour before you want to come over, and I'll let you know if it works or not. And then you do nothing and they show up and you've never given them,
and you don't turn them away,
them in your
and
door,
you let them in
and
again.
You're not really owning that boundary. And boundaries are hard.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're really hard. And it takes a lot of trusting yourself and loving yourself to make sure that you respect yourself enough to uphold it.
Right. You're worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm worth it. Well, and what that looks like for me, like, so the basics. So like a real simple boundary I remember setting was, and we both actually said it together, like we're not going to use cuss words, because then we both know we're moving up a level. It's like a small sense of a loss of control. It seems really dorky and simple, but as soon as we're throwing out F-bombs and whatever, we know, gotta back it up. Like, let's take it down. So like literally we knew, we still play with it a little bit. If we started cussing, one of us could say, hey, let's take a minute. Let's walk away from this conversation. At first that worked, but then eventually it didn't. And I literally had to stand up and say, I'm leaving this conversation, because it's that boundary. And I remember, it was sad, but I remember at 1 o'clock in the freaking morning in my PJs in the freezing winter, it was like a year ago, I literally had to get in my car and leave. It sucked. I was freezing. I was just in a night shirt, and I didn't go very far. I literally, like, driving and smoking was bad. But I learned, it was ingrained in me, set the boundary, stick to it, follow through on the consequences.
Absolutely.
And it sucks, and it was really not that long. It was like 20 minutes, so I was freaking cold.
Yeah.
And at 1 in the morning.
I like relating boundaries to like the kid that constantly goes in the snack cabinet. Like, say you have a kid, like my kids do this all the time, and it's just, it'll drive you batty. If you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But, the constant in and out of the snack cabinet, and then when dinner comes, they're like, oh, I'm not hungry, so, but it's like, if you don't find a way to stop that behavior, it's going to keep continuing. And it's the easiest thing is to relate it to, I think, is children, because it's, it's one of those things that if we don't reinforce behavior, and if we don't reinforce behavior with our children, if we don't do it with, our significant other, our friends, our loved ones,
how are they going to take it seriously?
Never going to take it seriously.
Absolutely. And there's an art to saying no.
Yes.
And
simple word, but such a hard
so
word.
hard, because I'm a people pleaser. Like, that's another one of my little defects, whatever you want to call it. Okay, let's continue, just because we're running out of time already, Melanie. Look at it, 8:33. Okay, so
we're easily distracted.
It is. Well, I try to keep to an hour, so it's not like it's like gonna kick us off after an hour. So this would be one occasion I wouldn't mind going all the overs. Okay, so the next comment, let's see. All interconnected. I believe and have believed. Oh yes, definitely. Let's see. There's just some weird FYI. I can't see what's going on. There's some weird wording in here, which I'm wondering if maybe it's being
Being hacked.
Yeah, some kind of weird thing.
Don't hack us, please. We're having fun.
No is a complete sentence.
Yes.
I have a t-shirt that says that.
Love it.
Mahan said, why did she decide to write this book? Why did you decide to write this book, Melanie?
Well, I actually started writing this book when I was in graduate school at Hazelden Betty Ford. And, I think there's power in stories. Yes. And I used to love the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, if you're familiar.
Yes,
They're
I remember those.
Super short stories, shorter than mine. But I always just loved picking up one and just reading it really quick and, getting what I could from it and then, setting the book back down. And I just had this idea that there are so many people in recovery. And for some reason, I think just because I'm female, I was drawn to having it just be women in this book. And
Oh, but men could totally read this book and
Oh,
connect
yeah,
with this
yeah,
book.
yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. So I think that at the end of the day, it was, it became this sort of just quest. I've always been interested in, I love writing. I mean, I've written a blog for years. So it wasn't completely a stretch for me to write a book, but it took a lot of, when I wrote it, I was in grad school, single mom, working like 3 jobs, and it took me like 2 years to write the book, in all honesty. And I had to hire a writing coach to help me get it done and keep me accountable.
That's great.
So, and it, and in it, like, it was a really big part of my recovery, actually. So I really wanted to understand the other side of addiction because, like I said before, I'm not in recovery myself. I guess not from substance use, I should say, because I have my own little issues. But I would say that for me, I just needed to understand things from my sister and my brother's point of view. And it gave me a lot of understanding, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense, and that's huge. And I remember being in the rooms, and, anonymity was a big thing. And I remember hearing about allies to recovery, and I'm like, bullshit, like there's no friends, like I don't believe that. But then I met you, and I met a couple others, Lori, Sarah's house owner person, true allies. Like that's just to see your like perfect example that you can trust outside our communities, and it's needed, and it's wonderful to feel that support. And that helps make the advocacy stronger, and that the fight to break the stigma. So, okay, let me try. I got this new little hot seat sound effect. Okay, well, I couldn't find like a cool movie version one, but it's like a fire sound for a crackling fire. Anyway, here we go, because we're about to do the hot seat, Mel. You ready?
I'm ready.
3 hot and heavy questions.
It's actually really warm in here, so.
I know! The fire is kicked up in this room.
I feel like I am.
That's good. We're really in the sauna. Okay, let's see if this works. Does this sound hot? It's fire! It's fire! Okay, cool. Okay, so that's official. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
So, 3 questions, and like I mentioned, they're meant to be, in case someone else out there is ask themselves these questions. Maybe your answer they could feel a connection to. And what we say at Minnesota Recovery Connection is the opposite to addiction is connection.
Connection, yeah.
So,
I love it.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Melanie, what makes you feel most empowered?
Ooh. I think what makes me feel most empowered is knowledge.
Yeah.
It really is knowledge. I talked about going to grad school. I talked about writing this book, and it was like, when you said earlier that you thought that your new addiction was learning knowledge.
It is, yes.
I can kind of relate to that because I went through a very long phase of that, and I've backed off considerably since, but there was a time too when I couldn't get enough, and but I still think like anything in life, like it's just so important to know things, to understand things. And one of the ways I got a lot of how I felt power was by embracing my story and exploring it with a therapist. And being open to that. And so I really understand myself, I feel like. And so if you haven't gone to a therapist, like it's not totally
highly recommend.
So good. It's kind of like finding a good room. Like you've got to like shop around a little bit till you find a place you feel good.
Yes.
Find a therapist that works for you, because not everybody is a good fit. It's just like a regular doctor. So it's probably more intimate than a regular doctor, obviously. Unless it's your OB, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and mental wellness.
Yeah.
Mental wellness is so key.
It's so important.
Well, and it's nice to have a professional. Like, I like the rooms and the women, and they're so knowledgeable and they're so wise. But it's also nice to have this. I like scientific facts.
Yeah.
I like seeing brain scans, and I like understanding facts of things.
Yeah.
Like I do feel like I'm spiritual, and I have a higher power. I'm a cool dork. Is it like a contradiction?
It's a very positive.
Well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. Yes, I think it's mutual. Oh, Okay, so it's already, we've got 20 minutes. Oh, good. That was the alarm for the hot seat.
Oh.
So we're on point.
And we got on track.
Okay, question number 2. What's the most memorable lesson you learned from a parent or role model?
Ooh. Hard work. I would say hard work. Like my dad's side of the family is very hard workers, and I've taken that with me throughout my life, and it's done me, I mean, not super related to recovery, but I guess it could be, you know, like in anything in life. Like, I guess I kind of, after my brother died, I sort of pursued finding out what happened or learning more. And that took some hard work and motivation and stamina, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my work, what I do every day, I find it very valuable to be a hard worker and be dependable.
Yeah. Well, anything worth doing is worth doing well.
Yeah.
I have all these old like sayings that just for me too. Like anything I do well. I try to do well, you know, and that stems to get a lot of people that sometimes are negative about it, or I call them haters or DKs, dream killers. But you know, if you don't want to do it to the capacity that I'm doing it, that's your choice. That's fine. I'm not going to pull you along with me to do it, and I'm not going to push you to do it. But this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm going to do. And like, I hate it when people ask me to help them move. Because
I want to do that. Nobody wants to help you move.
Well, and you know, I will, and if I do like get into that, like I definitely. Oh, we gotta block somebody. Oh my gosh, we got a troll. Hold on, let me see how to do this. Block user. I did it.
Woo!
Okay,
Adios, buddy.
and immediately took.
Adios.
Yeah, it immediately took off their things.
Oh, good.
Oh, we're getting bombed. You have to see someone told us. Thank you. Oh, that's cool. I've never had that happen before.
You're out.
Ooh, that happened fast. See, I need a tech assistant. Anybody out there, just to let you know. It'd be nice to have someone
That
to
would
sit
be
and,
nice, yeah.
and monitor that for me, because I do get really into the
Yeah, we need more hands.
I get really into the conversation. I like to be in the present moment. Okay, question number 3. What is your biggest regret?
That's kind of a tough one. I would say after losing my brother, I have accepted this, and I don't know if I would say forgiven myself, but I've given myself some grace with it, because you just don't know what you don't know. And at the time, I guess before my brother died, probably like it was like a week and a half before he died, he had texted me on a Sunday morning, and he said, you know, hey, are you up? And I was sort of annoyed with some of the stuff that was going on in his life, and I just took a deep breath and kind of rolled my eyes, and I texted him back like 3 hours later, and we got on the phone, and he said my parents had walked into where he was or whatever. It was at his work. He worked at a bar. He owned a bar. And so he couldn't talk, but he wanted to talk later. And then we texted later and said, oh, like, let's meet up for lunch. And we never did. And then it was like 11 days later, he took his life.
Wow.
And so I'll never know what he wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder sometimes, like, was he trying to get help? You know, was he trying to get clean? I'll never know.
Yeah.
And so it's my biggest regret, at least not knowing. But I do give myself grace. And I know that what happened, and, you know, I have to, you know, just accept that it is what it is. Unfortunately, I hate that saying, but it is what it is. And things happen. And I don't like saying things happen for a reason, but, like, we can learn from everything in our life. And I don't know that my brother was ever meant to be on this earth for a long time. So I just kind of accepted that and trusted that, you know, in my world, God has a better plan, and so I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah.
But
and grief recovery is one thing that I have a book I work on with a grief recovery guide / sponsor, you can call it, whatever the labels are. But he's wonderful, and he actually studied at Betty Ford or whatever with the grief recovery.
Yeah.
So, but learning the stages of grief is huge. And then, the what ifs.
Yeah.
And, well, what if I did this, or what if I said that, or what if I, you know.
And
but
I think in, like, the instance of an overdose or a suicide, my brother's wasn't an overdose, but I think that they're very similar and, like, sudden and tragic, and so many questions left unanswered, I think. And I think that those stages of grief are just so much more pronounced and all over the place, and every one of my family members reacted differently, you know. So Yeah, I don't know why I'm adding that, but I'm adding that.
Well, absolutely. Okay, and so I did really quickly, before your book, in Bad Moms, we were reading from the A Sober Mom's Guide to Recovery, which is Rosemary O'Connor. And I just really quickly wanted to read this piece that she had. Oops, I wrote down the page. Hold on a sec. Because she really ties it. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but literally in the chapter she talks about examples and actual stories, and I'm like, holy crap, I did that! I was crazy! Crazy in love! Whatever you want to call it. But I remember being that person outside the window and watching, and I was like, scary person. I mean, this was like a decade ago, but okay, not quite.
We've
But
all had
we
our
won't go into
moments,
dates. I'm 2 years sober now. Okay, so page 44. So this book, I'm just going to read the stuff that I highlighted in pink, but it's really great. Okay, so it says, of course, it is normal to want love and romance in our lives. But when the pursuit of love and romance becomes compulsive and turns to obsession, we need the hit, is in quotes, of being with this person. Then it is another form of addiction, known as love addiction. And as with a chemical addiction, the consequences of this addiction can be devastating. It can ruin marriages, kill self-esteem, and even lead to suicide. Love addiction often begins in early childhood due to lack of healthy bonding with the primary caregiver. Love addicts have a strong fear of abandonment, which often stems from rejection, neglect, or abuse, physical, emotional, or sexual, in early childhood. The core driving need for love addicts is reassurance from the love object. Love addicts need someone to tell them they are okay and are lovable and desirable and worthy, because they don't believe it about themselves. Love addiction can be an escape from reality, loneliness, and stress, and a way. And so here are a couple ways to avoid okay, so here are some common signs of love addiction, and then we'll wrap into our last segment. We're doing pretty good on time, actually. Okay, I worry I'm not being able to see some of the comments, but I don't know. I'll have to look on that later.
Yeah.
There's nothing inappropriate. It's just, I also worry it could be my daughter. She got a new phone, and I invited her to listen to the show. So, okay. It says, so here are some common signs. And by the way, everything I just read in that last paragraph, that was me. Like 100%.
And me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
This is codependency, really.
yes, 100%. And that's why that article that I read in the magazine, and I still need to do further research into it, said that love addiction isn't actually, how do you say it? I don't want to say like they bluntly said it doesn't exist, but it does.
Oh, it totally
Like I never ended up having to go to SA, Sex Addictions Anonymous. Like I never had to go do those swabs. I did the swabs for other things that I was able to utilize. But sadly, in treatment, I met someone. My kids were not at the home in my home. Okay, so I got into this relationship with this person in treatment. Okay, I highly don't recommend doing that. But as also a sex addict, and I'm pretty sure he was, or what I thought was a sex addict, we thought, whatever. Like, that was our first 5-6 months of that relationship. It was insane, okay? And for me, it was okay, because, like, for me, I had no other, like, sex was sex, and that was it. Like, it was not a thought process. It wasn't until after about 6 months I started to realize, like, I need more. I started, what was going on was I started to like myself. I started to understand myself, and in turn started to love myself. And I didn't want it to just be about sex anymore. I wanted more.
Absolutely.
And he didn't. He wanted it all about him. So, but here are some common signs. So just in case you might be considering that you are this. So one of them is compulsively fantasizing about or focusing on one person. Another one is becoming attracted to emotionally unavailable or abusive partners. Ooh, that was a cycle. Another one is moving quickly from one relationship to another. Ooh, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Feeling incomplete without a partner. Neglecting to care for self. Becoming sexually or emotionally involved without knowing the other person. Ooh. That's our 10 minutes to go. Last alarm. Oh my god, we got another. Oh, it would help if I do it with the right phone. Okay, I got another person I gotta block. Ooh, this is a hater. Blocking them again. Interesting. And you know what? I'm gonna put the comments that are weird. I'm just gonna put them. Look, I can put them in a timeout. Ah, that's so cool. Cool option. Okay, so if the comments aren't in English, I'm just putting them in a timeout. Melanie, I think it's because you're kind of a celebrity.
Oh.
You brought the trolls, Melanie.
Something's going on. I don't know.
For sure. Okay, and the last one, and then we'll jump into the Facebook memes. This is my favorite. This is my favorite segment. Is wanting to be rescued to avoid taking responsibility for ourselves.
Oh, yes. That was me.
Yeah.
Right there. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It was so hard for me to be alone. Like you were talking about how that, like not dating through this 2-year period or whatever. I think that's so important and understated, but it's really hard to be able to do that when you're not ready to be alone and like face the stillness of the night by yourself. So, but there's so much healing that can happen there.
Yes. Well, and like Sarah, she lives in sober housing for women. Like I don't know why I didn't like even consider that as an option. I mean, I was so lost in my early days 2 years ago. I was not clear-headed at all. But like they live in a housing where it's women and they're all in recovery and they're all sober living. Like that would have been beautiful.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have needed like to or feel needed to like go find that wantedness or whatever. I could have got that from them. And now, like, now I do that. Like, now I have the meetings and the women's and the friends and the circles and the sisters in recovery. Like, that's where I feel loved. Like, I'm in this place now where I have no desire. I mean, really, I like being alone and by myself now. I really do. But, okay. So, let's, just want to say, is there any final things you wanted to say before we jump into? So the next segment is called Facebook Memes Live. And I get my thrills at night looking at the posts of memes that people share. And some are funny, I think, in my opinion. And some are just, like, ooh, I really like that. That hit me. Yeah. And it's cool. I brought them on. I want to share them with you. And like Facebook, you're going to either thumbs up, like do a reaction. There's love, there's care, there's laugh out loud. You're familiar with Facebook?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so any of those, and then you're free to comment too. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I have ones ready. I actually had some of my friends. I was like, hit me with the memes today. I don't want it to just be my crazy ass. Okay. So, let's start with, some of them are kind of like dad jokes, I think. But some of them are whatever. Okay. So, describe the picture and then read.
Oh, okay. So there's this is one of those adult cartoon things, right? I don't know what the cartoon is, but there's this guy in a car with a seatbelt on driving, and it says, me listening to songs about killing people and selling drugs while I'm heading to a meeting to get spiritual.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'd be bumping in my car like brace. Boom. I got a good stereo in that piece of crap car, but it's a good stereo. I'm like playing Missy Elliott and I'm going to this like light and fluffy, happy spiritual meeting.
Come in with the bass pumping and then
they look over
breaks and then walk into the deep breath.
Who's that little girl right there? That's Bridge. Wow. Yeah, she like rap music.
Wild.
Okay.
All right, this one there's no picture, but it just says, you can't defeat your demons if you're still enjoying their company. Ooh, so good.
So what is that like? What do you think of when you...
I think that's really about, like, if you're struggling with, a substance or alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be, if you're still finding some enjoyment in some part of that and not able to find a way to get that some other way, does that make sense? It's going to be really hard to let go of it.
Well, and for some reason, for me, it was like, I think about people that thrive on the chaos. So a lot of addicts still like to be around chaos. Like, they like the drama. And it's so funny because they'll come to me, they're like, oh, did you hear about that? They're gossiping. Like, they're toxic.
Yes.
They bring it on themselves. They like it. So they're talking, oh, can you believe that you did? Why are you like, I don't ever participate in those conversations. I just don't
Sometimes I think people
respond.
just don't know better.
Yeah.
I don't think like they
don't even realize.
They've gotten away from it enough to even realize that there's a different way. Like, I think that they're just surrounded. And so until they can get like a little door or a little clearing to get away from that and kind of see the way other people live and the way it could be.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to see that that's even who you are.
Right.
I think people just don't realize, honestly.
Yeah, well, it's just, you're used to it. And, and for me, now, I see them as dark cloud people.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, I was a dark cloud person in a sense, and so.
I think that
if
pop the cloud and trolls, like the little.
Yeah! I literally picture a person. So I'm the spirit of sunshine. I literally, a dark cloud person literally has a dark cloud, like, above their head.
Yeah.
And they're shady.
So the funny, I know this is completely unrelated, but when that cloud does that, like, he shakes that guy's hand, like, what's his branch?
Yes!
And they shake his hand. Oh my god, it's so funny. Okay, anyways.
I love that movie.
That was so fun.
Okay. This is just words.
Okay, sometimes you might feel like no one's there for you, but you know who's always there for you? Laundry. Laundry will always be there for you.
Mountains of laundry.
Isn't that the truth?
And I saw a mug that said, "It's okay, dishes. Nobody's doing me either." So, hey, I'm not like, no, who's that cup mine for? Get away from me with that.
I literally filled up the hamper before I got here, and I was like, crap.
Oh, yeah.
Full again.
At least got the stuff in the dryers. Okay, this one's cool.
Oh, it's a picture of a cow, and he's got, like, his tongue out, and he looks all funny. Okay. Know why cows have hooves instead of feet? Because they lactose.
Lactose.
Okay, it took me a second, but I got it. I told you that was going to happen.
I think my friend Mike said that to me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, okay, this one I sent to Sarah.
Okay, so this one's just words. I have come to the conclusion that buying craft supplies and actually using them are two separate hobbies. I did not find out that was a phase.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I got to this point where it's all in a room, and I kept buying more and not using any of these. I get it and I see it like a Pinterest or some kind of cool post. I'm like, I could do that. I go get the things. I get tired.
Yeah.
From doing all the shopping and planning all the things. I'm like, I'll do it later. And it just sits in there for months. So I'm more of a minimalist now. And even when I get that urge, because shopping addiction is also an addiction.
Oh, that's a very real thing.
Yes.
Amazon. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
What did they do to
us? Yes. Don't get me started on Amazon. I love it, especially Christmas time.
I know, you're sitting on the phone
So much
for like
easier.
2 hours. You're like, I'm done Christmas shopping.
Yes. Do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Good stuff.
So let's do like an aha one. I apologize. I don't have many
Okay, this one says, the broken will always be able to love harder than most. Once you've been in the dark, you'll learn to appreciate everything that shines. Absolutely. I think you gain compassion for other people and situations. And that's what I think the book, like writing the book for me, I think that's what that did for me. It was sort of being able to see and understand better.
Yes. Well, and it's like, how I perceive it is like you wrote it, it was like a healing process for you, and from something that happened that was so tragic, it's like you're this shining light to me. Like you're this light that I cling to now. Like I like staring at you and following you and just, learning from you. So from that darkness though, you were able to overcome that and just be this inspiration to so many.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, that's what I think
the goal.
of. Yeah.
All right, the difference between black-eyed peas and chickpeas is that black-eyed peas can sing us a song and chickpeas can only hummus one.
I love hummus. Hummus. Okay. Oh, retail therapy, Facebook user said. Yes, retail therapy, especially this time of year. Oh my God, I got all the excuses.
Absolutely.
Dollar Tree's my jam, man. You can get so many things. It's like $14.
Everything's $1 still, right? Or are they going up to $1.25, I think?
No.
No,
I was just there today.
Oh.
Don't say that.
I didn't swear at
I'll
you,
still
sorry.
go there. Yes.
Ooh, okay. So this is a tweet from Chris Ramsey. Snoring is basically bragging about being asleep so loudly that it stops other people from sleeping. Like it's like lying there screaming, "I'm having a lovely sleep."
Do you snore or does your partner snore?
I do snore, and he's more like a heavy breather.
Uh-huh.
So like if he's really tired, then he'll snore.
Is he a
and
heavy
I can't
sleeper?
fall asleep if he's snoring.
I was gonna say, are you either heavy, both of you light or heavy sleepers?
I'm a pretty light sleeper. Like the dog will be like at the door to go to the bathroom, and he is just. And I'm like, seriously. It's like 10 below. That was like, of course, like the night is the coldest. The dog has to go out at like
Of
2
course.
o'clock in the morning.
Oh yes.
He's just snoring away, and then like, the next morning, I'm like, "Don't you hear the dog?" He's like, "What? You had to take the dog out at 2 o'clock in the morning?"
And like the snow tornado.
Oh
my
my come back
gosh.
just furious.
Yes. Well, and what's funny about that too is like I'm a very light sleeper, so I literally have to. I used to have a fan, and now there's those nice white noise machines.
Oh yeah.
Or apps. You know,
Yep.
so if I travel, I just use that. But like. I don't snore. I never heard anybody tell me I
Okay.
snore. But all my kids are heavy ass sleepers
Oh.
and snorers. It's insane. But earplugs help, and like I don't think I could. And if I ever got had a partner in life, they can't be a snorer. They're gonna have to get some go to the doctors, get some fix on that because I can't sleep.
Cut that out.
I will turn into a zombie. Seriously, or like I don't know, sleep in separate rooms or something. I don't know, but. I remember camping, and my tent mate for a week was like a bear. Her snoring was like a bear. I got no sleep the whole time.
Oh.
Thank God I have medications now that help me.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to try to find one more like funny visual one, and then we're at 9:01.
Ooh.
And
Not
we can
too
wrap
bad.
it up. Yeah.
Too shabby.
Well, honestly, with the troll folks, scares me. It scares me. I want to get out quick.
Right?
I'm gonna make sure I get a admin monitor. Oh, Mahana says, I think she would be a great guest to come on the Rise Up Hour.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah. So that's Sundays
I'm in.
at 1 o'clock. And, yeah, I went on that show a couple weeks ago. I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
And Mohana's the host, and he's awesome. Like,
Aw.
he's like us. He could be in our inner circle. Like, just knowledge is the
Yeah.
addiction.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just, I think what's wonderful is we welcome all paths to recovery, because no one path is going to
I
be
love
right
that.
for everybody.
I love that.
Yeah, and some of us need many paths, especially
Yes.
when there's mental wellness and co-occurring
Absolutely.
and all that kind of stuff. So just someone like who's open-minded and wants to learn and willing, like I think those are the people I love to be around and have in my future.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And
Find me a good one.
yeah, well, okay, this one you will have to describe it.
Whoa. There's a
So-
lot of colors. I don't know.
So describe the two. Okay, you just do the. I'm gonna let you wing it.
So there is like a comic strip, and on top it says "Life and Sobriety," and it's got 2 pictures. There's a dog.
It's a side by side of the same dog.
Yep, side by side with the same dog, and there's a rainbow in the background. And the first picture, he's got a little mug of coffee, and then the second one, his eyes are all bugged out, and he says, "This is unbearable." And then the second set of pictures is the dog with fire in the background, and it says active addiction, and the one on the left, he's just fine, and the one on the right says, "This is fine.
This is fine.
This is fine."
You know, there's like fire and smoke
Yeah.
and like, so it's life and sobriety. This is unbearable because it's too happy. It's too rainbows and like we're as that is like we're not used to that. Like this is I can't stand this. It's like boring. I don't know. Too happy. But then active addiction is like well, the house can be on fire. You know, and the worst of the worst. And I'm like this is fine. Like
It looks like
This is-
he's blowing up. Everything around him is blowing up, and he's like, "This is
he's
fine."
just sitting in like nonchalant. It is what it is.
Sometimes we tell ourselves that, don't we?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. My mind. So Tanya, I love to quote her. She says, "Bridge, your mind is like a bad neighborhood. Never go there alone." It's so true.
So true.
And so quickly it can happen, especially when I'm at home. I like enjoy being a hermit sometimes, but I force myself to get out of the house because literally after a weekend of like I just get in
Maybe a
that
little
comfort
fresh air
zone.
or something. Meet some
Yeah.
people, talk to some people. Absolutely.
I will
Or
talk
connection.
myself out of anything.
Connection.
Yes. Oh, that's what's great about, the technology where things are today, before. Like in his clip, he was talking about the beepers. I was like, oh my God, I had that in high school. I had a fucking beeper, man. I'm old. Okay.
Mine was turquoise.
Was it? Mine
Yes.
was blue.
And it was like a clear turquoise. So you could kind of see like all the
Yes,
other
mine was too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you were
Yeah.
so cool.
Yes. And then you have to like text your friends boobies.
Yes,
or
boobless.
Yeah.
I totally did that.
Oh, we all did
Oh
that.
my gosh, I wish they'd remake those. You know, they're remaking those like flip phones now.
Oh.
T-Mobile, you can buy them for like $90.
Oh.
And it's literally, you know, just used as a phone. And then you can pay $200, which is way overpriced if you ask me. This is a boring flip phone. I think it has a little bit of like access to the internet.
Oh.
It's hilarious. It's like nostalgic. Part of me is like, I kind of wouldn't mind
You
it.
have to text like where you have to hit like three times.
Yes,
to get
yes.
to the app.
That's the $90 one. I was like, that would drive me insane.
Yeah.
But my friend Jason, like, he's never like converted. Like, he's just always had this flip phone. I give him so much props
Yeah.
for that. I mean, life must be just a lot less stress.
Yeah.
You know?
My
And-
fiance's dad has a flip phone, and my fiance constantly texts him pictures that he can't open, just
Uh-huh.
for fun.
Oh my gosh!
That's
and
crazy.
That's another thing. There's that documentary on Netflix, Social Dilemma.
Oh, I saw that.
Yes, that was deep. I mean, the phone addiction thing is real.
Oh, it's
I
so
mean,
bad.
yes, my son's.
TikTok?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is like brain, like
horrible.
Yes,
Yes.
toxic, so bad. But I had my sons watch it. Right.
Yeah.
My oldest, he's so wonderful. So he watched it, and he didn't know I was standing outside the room. Right. Creepy
You
mom.
stupid.
I was totally. But I made sure to walk in at the right moment, and I was like, "Honey, do you want to go on your phone and see how much time you use on the internet?" And he looks at me, he's like, "No, Mom. Like, get out, go away."
I get that thing on my iPhone that says like, your phone use was up like 307% from last week. Do you get that?
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. I'm like,
Facebook
you need to
does
turn
that.
off.
Yes.
It's horrible. I don't want to know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's crazy. But like to you know, people are always like, I think people are listening to me through my phone. No, that's just that's the way the programs, all that social media,
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, and it's automatically collects your data. It's simple. It's like it's not a conspiracy. It's not like some crazy. Oh, somebody's listening to me. It's like data. Okay, it's a computer that automatically collects your data. It's real simple. Because I literally figured it out when we were doing a Google search, right, for the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
Except my search went to more like related on whatever pages that were like where I usually search, and his went into a whole different place. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell are you searching
So,
normally?
Have you ever had like a conversation with somebody like in person and you're like, okay, like I want to find like, I don't know, like let's say like a ball hat or what, I don't know, ball cap.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you go onto Facebook and like literally it's adjusting it for you. It like blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that's something I care to understand, but it's completely creepy.
Yeah, it doesn't scare me. I think
It doesn't
these
scare
things-
me. I'm just like,
it's like,
that is so crazy.
I'm an open
Like,
book. You want to make my life easier? Find me some ball caps for
yeah.
sure. I'm not worried
I do
about
find
it.
myself shutting off my Alexa from time to time, like
Yeah.
unplugging it because I'm like, that is so creepy. Because sometimes I'll be talking, like, well, Alexa will not have that on for like 3 days. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like I'm talking, and Alexa is like,
That's right.
Melanie, what do you? Blah, blah,
Yes!
blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, creepy, like,
Yes!
so creepy. Don't
Oh,
do
I
that.
love Alexa. She's like my best friend.
Oh, she's great, but
Yeah.
oh man,
She like
super
helps
creepy
me
sometimes.
a lot, but she is creepy.
Yeah.
And actually, I wanted to like you could spend more money and get the Alexa in Shaq's voice, Shaquille
Oh,
O'Neal.
really?
I didn't have enough money in my account, but at that moment, I was really gonna do it because
Oh.
how cool!
That's so funny.
Yeah, but see, my 16-year-old son, he puts tape. Like I was wondering why he's putting black tape on all the camera, like the
Yeah, he's
computer.
a little freaked out about it.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
zoom and you know, like after school, I'm like, honey, why are you putting tape on my computer or whatever? He's like, Mom, and he's right. People can hack into your shit
Oh, I'm
and be
sure.
looking through all those cameras.
Oh.
I'm like, I'm effed because Alexa has access to everything anyway. And what do
Oh
I
my
got to
goodness,
hide?
right?
Yeah, I got nothing to hide. So, okay, well. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully it wasn't too much. I mean, I'm roasting.
Oh heavens,
I might
no,
have to
it
take
is
one of
warm in
my
here.
3
We
shirts
literally
off.
are in the hot seat.
Yes, and I definitely welcome, you know, if other people missed any of the show to go back on. It is recorded. It is, you can catch any of the previous shows. But please go on Melanie's website. Seriously, like, there's so many tools. We talk about that a lot in the rooms and in recovery. Like, getting all the tools you can to keep in your toolbox, your recovery toolbox. And the point is then you have these tools to utilize, pull them out when you need them, you know? And so, your book, your your website, you as a person, is a great tool.
Yeah, thank
really,
you.
that's put me on this beautiful path, and it'll be 2 years tomorrow.
Yay, I'm so
Woo!
proud of you,
I'm
girl.
so proud of myself. And you know what? I've never ever, like, honestly, after I started collecting the duplicate medallions, I just stopped collecting them. Like, I don't even care. Like, when I got my year or 18 months, nobody really do. Like, but this year, I'm like, Marcy, you better be there on Monday. Like, for real. Like, this is a big deal to me. Like,
To your birthday.
yes, this is like the untouchable, I call it. It's
That's
the
awesome.
untouchable 2 years, so. Okay, well,
It's a great
that's
place to
it.
be.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I
what's
just said
the-
it's a great place to be. 2 years.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly because it's on the Monday Mom's Night.
Oh, yay!
Oh, yeah, this is exciting. Okay, well, thank you, listeners, for joining us. And again, thank you, Melanie, for coming on. You're
Thank
so
you for
wonderful.
having me.
You were the perfect guest because, like, I couldn't have a dude on here talking about sex. Like, it would go, I know where it could go. And unfortunately, how I grew up and what I learned, like, my mind could go right into the gutter real quickly along, those lines too. So I like having a professional woman right next to me and keep
you.
it legit
Yeah.
and professional. So
Totally legit.
too legit. Too legit. Too
I was
legit.
doing that in my head.
Too legit. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, have a good week, everybody, and we will end the broadcast.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.